financial problems, elder law, criminal law, tax problems, business matters, divorce, personal injury, bankruptcy, your life, your reality. Life is complicated. There is the law and there is reality. Welcome to Law and Reality, sponsored by THAV GROSS. Now here's your host, Ken Gross.
Welcome to this segment of Law and Reality. Pat Simasco, nice to see you.
Starting with me this time. Hi,
Yes,
Ken.
I am.
How are you? Thank you.
Jeffrey Linden,
Good to see you, Ken.
Brian Small, always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure to be here, Ken.
Dang, what's going on over at that side of the table?
It's an exciting time. It's a beautiful day.
It is.
Tense. There's a lot of built-up tension.
Topic today, the covert opportunity to resolve your credit card debt.
Wait, did you say the COVID or the covert?
COVID.
Okay.
It's not covert. It's overt
There are some secret methods.
to COVID. Because COVID is a situation where it sets the stage that resolving credit card debt is a good and viable option. You just need to know when to do it and how to do it. But before we get into it, I kind of ran into something and I want to share with you guys. It's what's happening with credit cards, and I found what I consider to be an interesting, ready, trichotomy.
Is that a word?
It is now.
It is now.
Moving
Well,
on.
dichotomy is a word, right?
Right?
That's what I started with, but there's three factors, so therefore it's a trichotomy.
Fake news.
It works for me.
Okay.
Okay. I did not Google
Fake
the
news.
word. Well, fake news, there you go. All right, NerdWallet.com, who we have cited on this show several times before. And NerdWallet.com happens to be what I consider to be a good site with a lot of information on credit cards. And what's interesting about NerdWallet.com is it is one of those sites, like many, that are sponsored in part by the credit card industry. What you have to do when you're looking on a site is always go down to the bottom segment and ask where, authorizations or who are we and stuff like that to find out who you're dealing with. And I'll get to that later.
So
But
what
for
you're
now,
saying is this is a skewed site in favor of the credit card industry.
it is, and that's not uncommon. But and we're going to talk about NerdWallet.com, and then I'm going to tell you about CNBC Select, which is not CNBC TV, and that's also sponsored by the banking industry. Not credit card industry, but banking industry. But here's what NerdWallet.com had to say with regard to what is happening now. 7 credit card rules you can break in an emergency like COVID-19. Okay, so you're looking at it and say, what are they going to say?
Wait,
Number
these are
one,
the rules that you should, if it wasn't an emergency, these are the rules you should follow?
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
And if it is an emergency, these are rules they're
can
saying
break.
you can break.
Right.
So it's number 1, never carry a balance month to month. You agree with that?
Oh, I 100% agree with that.
Pay more than the minimum amount due. In normal cases, you don't want to have any balance
No,
due.
pay off your balance every month, period.
Keep your credit card utilization under 30%.
Even better to keep your credit score up, keep it under 20%.
Okay. But the whole point being is, this advice from NerdWallet is saying these are rules you should normally follow, but in a COVID-type crisis where cash is critical, you can deviate. That's the point. So NerdWallet is coming up saying things that we agree with for the most part, is the point. Redeem rewards for maximum value. You don't have to do that. What's the difference? You can take rewards. I'll give you an example.
They call it the purchase eraser. If you've charged up on your credit cards, one of the opportunities that you have sometimes for a dollar for dollar reduction is use your points to
For cash.
pay your bill. But you don't necessarily get the travel miles, which is like
You don't get
double.
3 times miles
Right,
or
or
2
3
times
times,
miles.
right.
I'll give you an example. I use credit card that has the bonus mileage, 2 times and 3 times, and I exclusively use that for travel. During COVID, there ain't no travel. So what have I been doing with it? When I go to shop on Amazon for the kids or something, I've been just paying for it with the points on a one-to-one basis, because I don't want to store up $200,000, 200,000 points waiting for the travel when I don't know when it's going to happen, and I suspect that the credit card industry is going to take away those points from you when people get too many of them. They'll just change their terms of their agreement. So I kind of like that one, so that makes sense. Credit cards aren't an emergency fund. What do you have to say about that, Brian?
You
always say that.
Pre-COVID, I would have said 100% do not use your credit cards as an emergency fund. Today, I actually will tell you that if it's necessary, if you are between not eating and eating, use your credit card. Between not paying your rent and paying your rent, use your credit card. Because I can make the credit card debt go away, but you don't want to live in a tent and you don't want to go hungry.
Yeah, here's the whole point. You shouldn't use credit cards as an emergency fund. You should have cash in the bank and a zero balance on your credit cards.
Okay, that's a great fictional story.
Isn't
for a
this
moment.
law and reality?
Yes.
Yeah.
Reality is most people don't have $400 to
For an emergency, yeah.
For
what is
emergency.
it? 40% of Americans can come up with $400 in an emergency
and their
situation?
emergency fund is their available credit. That's the reality.
That's
Yeah,
true.
So-
yeah.
And
But at least here, NerdWallet is saying you can use it that way in this situation. Don't just park debt at 0%, pay it off. Okay? Don't hurt your credit score.
okay,
This is the biggest to me. In quote-unquote NerdWallet, in an emergency, you shouldn't prioritize your credit score over feeding your family, over keeping a roof above your head, over being safe. If you need to take action that hurts your credit, running up a high balance to cover necessities, applying for a new card, or even missing a payment, so be it.
And that's-
It's like they've been watching our show.
that's
for all
advice
this time.
coming from a company which is backed by the credit card industry.
Yes, I applaud nerdwallet.com for that article. Now, when I said, when you go on a website, look at the advertiser disclosure, you'll see for NerdWallet, credit cards, American Express, Bank of America, Chase, Citibank, Discover, they're all there. So even then, NerdWallet has told you the truth. COVID-19 presents a fight for our personal and business financial survival. You have to make choices. Cash is critical. Do you tap your retirement, home equity line, or run up the credit cards? You need the right plan to avoid being wiped out, and you need it now. You can't rely on the government or banks. Call us. We're the experts in financial crisis. We are here for you and your business in the Great Recession, and we're here for you now. We will create a plan and get through this together. THAV GROSS will solve your problem.
Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call THAV GROSS.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call THAV GROSS today, 888-235-HELP.
I love you too. Bye-bye. That was Jerry. Emma just said her first word.
Oh.
Jerry says hello and they'll be over soon.
Who's Jerry? Is he a friend of yours?
No. This Jerry. Our Jerry. And this is his wife and their little girl.
You can't work. You have to deal with pain and stress. Worse yet, our system for applying for disability benefits seeks to deny you the benefits you're entitled. Jeff Kirschner is an expert in obtaining disability and workers' compensation benefits for his clients. You need to call Jeff before you apply or after you're denied to get the benefits you deserve. 888-235-HELP. 888-235-HELP. If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
THAV GROSS specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call THAV GROSS.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call THAV GROSS. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
All right, we're back. So NerdWallet.com got an A. Now let's give a grade to CNBC Select. So I'm searching for articles. I find one new report shows historic drop in credit card debt amid the coronavirus pandemic from CNBC Select. But first I look at it and say, who is CNBC Select? Because you go to them from the CNBC site. So you're thinking it's a news source. And if you go on that and you click ahead, which you'll see, and you look at the advertiser disclosure, same thing. Relationships include but are not limited to the following companies: American Express, Bank of America, Chase, Citi, Credit One, Discover, USA, US Bank. Same companies, all that we're on sponsoring and supporting NerdWallet. Now, let's look at what they had to say. First of all, they're correct. They're reporting accurate information. Second quarter 2020 saw a staggering $82 billion decline in credit card balances. To quote from A Few Good Men, can you explain that?
I can explain that. All right, so here's what it is. Nobody had any place to go. You couldn't go to the restaurants. You couldn't go out to eat. You couldn't go to movie theaters. You couldn't go on vacations. So people had cash. Couple that with the fact that they got a stimulus check of $1,200. Couple that with the fact that if you were unemployed, you were possibly getting more unemployment compensation than you were actually earning at your regular job.
So they paid off their credit.
They're paying down their credit cards.
Is that the right move?
Short term, it might have been because it freed up some available credit, which is they're going to need because the problem hasn't been fixed.
As long as the available credit's still there.
Which isn't really happening right now. Credit card companies are slicing credit left and right.
See, here's the point. The American public did conceptually what you'd think would be the right thing. They had extra cash in hand. They said, I'm going to pay off this stinking credit card debt, get rid of the 14 to 29% interest, and get rid of it. And that is good sense, but it's not what NerdWallet.com is saying, because where are we going? What happens when the current stimulus check, which is now $400 a week, goes away? Is it going to go away the week after the election?
No. It's
is
not,
it going to
by
go
the way,
away?
It's not $400 a week. It's $300 a week.
Plus
It's
100 from your
unemployment.
state.
The 100 from the state is construed as being part of the allowed unemployment that you would normally have gotten anyway.
So
that's
you're
how
only
they're getting right. You're only getting 300
So, like
if
in
it ever
Michigan,
shows
you're
up.
only netting an extra 300.
If it ever shows up.
Okay. So here's the point. When that money evaporates, if you don't have your job, you're going to have no cash. So you have no cash, and you've taken all your available cash to pay down on your credit cards. Okay, if your available credit is still there, you can then drive the cards back up. But what if they take your available credit away?
Do you think, do you hear when it's supposed to be going away, or if it's going away, or?
Yahoo reported last month that they were slashing credit cards.
The stimulus check.
So the stimulus, the pandemic unemployment compensation, which is supposed to now be $300 a week extra in Michigan, is limited to the amount of money that FEMA has available to distribute. It's a state-by-state issue as states
Oh.
apply, and when FEMA runs out of it, there's no more. They say that's roughly, right now, 3 to 5 weeks of unemployment compensation,
Period.
and that's it. So
when
it's going
that's
to be
gone, the Fed's gone, the state's
Well,
gone.
you know, they're negotiating a new bill. Will that be passed? Who knows? Will it be passed before? What will happen before the election? Then you have what happens at the election. Then you have nothing that occurs between November and January when people take office. And then where are we going to be in January? It's going to depend. Are we going to have a split Congress? Probably. Who's going to be in control of the administration? Who knows? Where we're going is definitely an I don't know, or we don't know. And the question is, where does that leave you if you're in the vulnerable position relative to your employment? Some people are doing okay. And you know, if you're working for Amazon, I don't see that job drying up, okay? If you're working in an online industry. But if you're working in one of these vulnerable industries that are hemorrhaging right now, it's going to depend on where things go. And if you have no money in the bank, you need to get money in the bank. That's the whole point. So back to CNBC Select. The other headline, credit utilization is lowest since 2009. That means when you pay down your credit cards, your available credit is higher, the amount you're using is less, so your ratio improves. And then they go on and they say 22% of millennials use their stimulus check to pay off their credit card debt. Here's how you can improve your credit score. Well, NerdWallet just said it's okay, don't worry about your credit score. They're saying how great it is that people are improving their credit score in the middle of the pandemic. What is CNBC Select's motivation? It is a clear motivation to help the banking industry that's supplying you the credit cards. It is also basically saying to you, don't listen to nerdwallet.com. God forbid, they may be giving you good advice. Listen to us because we're giving you the advice that the banking industry wants you to hear.
Remember
And
all
that's
of this.
bad advice.
So
At
it's a
the end of the
conspiracy.
day,
Yes.
with the last recession,
This is the one conspiracy that exists.
the banking industry started to make profits like we've never seen before. And they don't want to give up those profits at all. And they're going to do everything they can to make sure that they stick it to the American public. I guarantee it.
Well, just remember what happened in the financial crisis. They took away available credit. It's going to happen again depending on timing. It's already happening, but it's going to happen more. The point is, you need to look out for yourself. So now I said trichotomy. I gave you NerdWallet, CNBC Select. Now I want the third leg, and that's Law and Reality in terms of what do we think you should be doing on this issue. And when we come back from the break, we'll cover the third leg of the trichotomy.
Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call THAV GROSS.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call THAV GROSS. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
Time for announcements. I want to remind you to listen to us for Law and Reality live on the Praise Network. Tuesdays, 10 o'clock a.m., Saturdays, 7 o'clock a.m., KISS 105.9, Sundays, 7 o'clock a.m. We have a new contest. Sign up for our fall giveaway. Free $500 Visa gift card grand prize, along with a Law and Reality hat and a copy of my book, Dump Your Debt. The drawing will be held on November 1st, 2020. To enter the contest, all you have to do is go on the website, enter your name on the link in the window that pops up, and you're entered. We have webinars where you can stay in your home, attend our webinar via the internet, ask questions while you watch, the same information that we would provide in our ordinary seminars. The next one coming up is Wednesday, September 16th, 6:30 to 8 o'clock p.m. Debt Relief, Your Path Forward. We're going to go through all the methods we use to address debt so that you preserve your future income for you and your family so that you're not allowing your future income to pay for past debts. There'll be a special segment for small businesses facing debt and closure problems. We'll talk about tax problems. We're going to go through the available options using bankruptcy and solutions outside of bankruptcy. Attendees get a free copy of my book, Dump Your Debt. Then we have a seminar coming up on Wednesday, November 4th on estate planning, 6:30 to 8 o'clock p.m. No estate plan, what are you thinking? You got to have the essential estate plan documents. You need to have the documents while you're living, which is the durable power of attorney and the healthcare advocate, and you need the documents to take care of your demise. That's your will and your revocable living trust. We're going to go through the probate process, how you avoid probate, how probate works in case you have to go through it. We will talk about the big mistakes people make in addressing estate planning issues so that you can avoid those mistakes. Attendees get a gold certificate off of the cost, $300 off the cost of an estate plan. To sign up for the seminars, you want to call 888-235-HELP or go to thavgross.com and sign up that way, or lawandreality.com. Also remember, you can come in for a free consultation, either a teleconference, video conference, or in-office live conference with social distancing. Just come on in, call the office, 888-235-HELP, or go online at thavgross.com or lawandreality.com, and you can request a free consult. Debt issues with Brian, tax issues with Jeff, estate planning issues with Brian, elder law issues with Pat Samasco, business issues with myself, disability issues with Jeff Kirshner. Criminal law issues also with Scott Weinberg. You want to sign up at lawandreality.com, thavgross.com, or call 888-235-HELP. Also, if you go to the website, you'll see there's free reports. Brand new one on resolving tax problems by Jeff Linden and myself, how to save your home from foreclosure, business formation, loans and grants for small business in Michigan, and Pat Samasco's Retiree's Guide to Social Security. I want to thank our sponsors, THAV GROSS, Samasco Law, Kirshner Law. Now back to the show.
Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
COVID-19 presents a fight for our personal and business financial survival. You have to make choices. Cash is critical. Do you tap your retirement, home equity line, or run up the credit cards? You need the right plan to avoid being wiped out, and you need it now. You can't rely on the government or banks. Call us. We're the experts in financial crisis. We are here for you and your business in the Great Recession, and we're here for you now. We will create a plan and get through this together. THAV GROSS will solve your problem.
Okay, so what do we think you should do, Brian? What do we think we should do in this situation? NerdWallet, CNBC Select, Brian Small.
I like that.
Ideal man.
I like the Brian Small method of dealing with the debt and the crisis because, wait for it, it's individual to the individual. I've said it before, I'll say it again. The problem is individual to the individual, and the solution is individual to the individual. If you're loaded for bear and got plenty of money in the bank and your job hasn't gone away, this show isn't for you. But if you are facing the fact that one of you has to stay home now to take care of the children because they have to go to school virtually, so you've just lost an income into the household. If you are sitting there saying, oh my God, my hours are down at work because there isn't enough work, or a combination, one of you has lost your job or both of you have lost your job, you need to come up with a strategy that's going to get you through this crisis so we can get on the other side when unemployment starts to dip and you can go back to work, or you can send your kid back to school and you can try and get back into the workforce.
Let me try and throw out something just in terms of I like to throw out rules and concepts beyond just individual to the individual. But your points are well taken, and this is consistent with what you're saying. If you need cash reserves, if you don't have them, That's number one. Because if your job is no longer there and the government stops supporting the economy and stimulus checks and unemployment, you have to have money to buy food and to live on. So if income and job security is down, do not pay off your credit cards. If savings is nil, use the cards to avoid parting with your cash. And number three, consider drawing cash advances before your available credit is trimmed.
Absolutely.
That number three is the hardest one to do.
Because you're borrowing at nearly 30% interest.
Right.
But at the end of the day, if you've got nothing in the bank, you need to protect yourself and your family. And if your job is at risk or your income is reduced, until you can stabilize, you've got to do something to put yourself in a position to make sure the electricity doesn't get shut off. Currently, you're not getting evicted, okay, because the government says so. Currently, you're getting some unemployment compensation. Maybe you're getting an extra $300. Maybe they're going to give you more, but that's not going to last forever either.
Right. We got a
Does
couple
the
minutes
credit
left.
card company tell you if they're reducing the credit?
After they reduce it.
Well, it happens lots of different ways. You go to use the card, you look on your credit card statement, or you look online and you've got $5,000 available credit. You go to use the card and it gets declined. Then you call them up and they say, "We're sorry, your credit line has been reduced." That's what happened in the financial crisis. It's still happening. Here's the point. You go and you tap out those cards and you're paying all this interest. The goal in our view, my view, is you're not necessarily going to pay it back. You're going to evaluate the situation then. If the better outcome for you is to do debt resolution or bankruptcy or any step that we have to take to avoid paying out that credit card money back so that you preserve your future income for you and your family, that's what we're going to do. I'm not telling you to go, and we're not saying take out 30% interest on a cash advance with the necessary conclusion that says you're going to pay it back. I'm not telling you you're not going to pay it back. You might win the lottery. You might get hit with cash might start coming down your chimney, and then you can pay it back. But if you're like most Americans and you want to value your future, you need to get through this current situation. And then when it comes to paying back the debt, we'll look at the way of getting out of that debt at the least possible cost in the fastest way. It's kind of, I would say, a little bit of the cutthroat mentality in terms of looking at how you have to preserve and look out for yourself in this situation.
It's not a little bit cutthroat. It's simple cutthroat. It's us versus them, and the bank has to lose. End of discussion, period. We win, they lose. That's the way it works.
Wow.
That's Ideal Man's way of saying it.
Wow.
I would try and
You
say
can feel the passion in the room today.
I want to
What's
try and
going
add a
on here?
little bit more civility to it. It's nothing against the banks. It's a question of what is in your best interest for you and your family going forward to preserve your future income for you. Your job's to look out for you. The banks will look out for themselves. Have a great week. We'll be back next week with Law and Reality.